Hi, I'm Ken with Meyers RV Superstores, and I'm a show-through guide. So today, one of the things we want to do is give people an idea before you even come to your show-through about some things you might need to know, and it's questions we get all the time about, besides the unit you're taking, what things do I need? And we have a sheet to help our customers, and on one side of the sheet it says necessities to get you started, and on the other side it says additional convenience and maintenance items. Now the good news is that any of these items, needs or wants that you purchase, should you decide in a few years that you want something else with an RV, these are things you generally mostly can take with you. So you don't have to repurchase an awful lot of things should you change units. So we're going to start and show you some of the things you really should have. And we're out in our parking lot, so normally a service post like this, we'd be parked closer to it if we were on a campground. But I wanted to be able to show you what you'd be looking at when you get there. This is a typical service panel. It has some hookups for 30 and 50 amps, and they're breaker switches. And this is where you would start once you get your coach in place and leveled, maybe even brought the slides out, and people can be doing things inside. You've got it all stabilized. First thing you're probably going to want to do is get your electricity hooked up. Now today, because most of the appliances that we have in our homes and mostly in our RVs, they have a lot of this miniature micro circuitry in, and they're kind of sensitive. So one of the things, just like for your computer, that we recommend that you get is a surge protector, and they call these smart RV surge protectors. And the way this works is you would plug this device into here, and then you will plug your electric cord into it. And what this will do is it will be sensing the electricity. It'll even have a display to tell you how much power you have on hand. And probably another little thing I recommend that I think is a need is a small voltage meter that just plugs into a regular electric socket. So once you're inside the coach and you start turning things on, you can see what your power capacity is. You have to remember that once you're plugged into power someplace, we always assume that you're getting full power. In this case, either 30 amps or 50 amps. Well, the coach we're looking at today happens to be a 50 amp coach. Just because you're plugged into that socket doesn't mean you're getting it, because in a campground, with everybody using the electricity, they tend to draw down the voltage, and you don't want to, what we call, brown out your coach. And that's what this device does. These devices will sense if your coach goes into a low power. It can actually shut it off if there's a power surge, or there's too much power or under power, and it'll shut your coach down and protect all your circuitry. Remember, you're protecting things like if you have an electric fireplace, a refrigerator, a microwave, televisions, and your computers or iPads, anything you have plugged in. So we now consider this really a necessity for today's coaches. So we're a little bit far away because we're not in a campground, but I'm going to step over to the unit and show you a few more products that you probably should have. And you can get these at our stores at any time, but these are the things we put out that you're going to need. I laid them out in the ground, and we'll talk about them one at a time. On this particular coach, the water service area happens to be in the front of the coach. It all depends on the unit and the floor plan, how they run the electric lines and the plumbing lines and the propane lines. In this particular coach, it's all the way up front. So we have a hose here, and this one is the extra flexible drinking water hose. This one is all blue. Some hoses will be white with a blue stripe. They're specially made to handle water that's for drinking. Now, some people are a little leery about drinking out of their coach, and so you can get filters. These are outside filters that screw in to the hoses before water enters your coach. You can even get filters that go inside the coach underneath a sink or underneath a bathroom sink. You can put additional filters. They're generally things that just screw on in place, protect your water supply. This coach has outside water connection, so we even have a handy hose here. And on this coach, it has hot and cold water outside. Kind of handy if you go to the beach, the kids get into some mud, you can actually have hot and cold water outside. One more thing is If you live in a town, a city, or a village, and you have your unit parked at your house and you're going to put water in it, or any campground, you want one of these. It is a water pressure regulator. Towns, cities, and villages usually have water pressure in the 60 to 65 pounds PSI, 65 PSI range. That's a little high for these coaches. Most coaches are made between 45 and 50 PSI, pounds per square inch. So we don't want to be putting 60 pounds or more of pressure in, or sometimes a water surge, or what they call a water hammer. So we take this little device and it screws into your hose. You can do it either at the water source or at the coach side of the hose. They even have ones with a gauge on it. Most people don't really care as long as they know that the water pressure gets reduced properly. So this is the kind of thing you should leave on your hose and not forget it at home, and keep it in the compartment with your hose. This is an absolute necessity. I actually have one with a gauge on it because some places I go, I like to see how much pressure is incoming. And sometimes if you go to a facility and the water pressure seems fairly low and you don't put it on, but then a lot of people leave and the water pressure comes up again. So don't take any chances. Get the regulator. They're not that expensive. Put it in place. Let's walk back here on this coach. On this particular coach, you can see the waste port is right here. So, of course, you're going to need a hose system. And the good news today is, I've been RVing for a long time, and one of the things that was always kind of inconvenient, when you bought a hose kit, you had to put your own fittings on the end. Well, not anymore. All the hoses they pretty much sell today have the fittings attached. This particular kit comes with one set and then an extension. And they come in different varieties. I generally suggest to people get one that has the greatest amount of plastic material, because sometimes you're keeping them stored in a bumper, you're sliding them in and out, and you try not to wear down that material. So that's going to connect over here. Now in this particular coach, you have an output here, but also there happens to be another one in the back that is probably for the half bath. The front of the coach may have what they call a galley tank, and on this coach they tell you, right here it says black tank and gray tank. So they're pull handles to empty the tanks, always black first and then gray, and it will exit at this port. So both of those will exit, but you do them one at a time, always black first. And of course you'll need a hose kit. Inside, for the bathroom, for the commode, for the toilet, you'll need some kind of chemical. These happen to be pods. And what this requires is you put a couple of gallons and follow the instructions on the back. It may say 3 to 5 gallons, and you toss in a pod, and the pods are usually good for like a 40-gallon tank. They have these, they have different kinds of liquids. There's quite a variety, so you can pick and see which ones you think work best for you. And of course, we have tissue paper. One of the things we like you to look for, this one says RV marine toilet tissue. What's the difference? Well, some of the other toilet tissues are really made for your home, particularly if it has a septic system. There, things break down over time. Well, time is of the essence here, because if you're there for a weekend, you would like this tissue to break down and emulsify as quickly as possible. If you're not sure what you have, take a couple of glasses of water. You can take the home-style tissue that you're using and buy at least one package of RV tissue, put them in water, and see how quickly they break down. The faster they break down, the better it is for the RV. That means when you empty your tank, you'll get most of that material out, where some of the other material might hang around a little bit because it doesn't break down very quickly. Remember, your toilet doesn't have a reservoir flush system like you have at home. It's only the water you put in by stepping on the pedal or pulling the handle to add water to the black tank. Okay, we're going to move back here a little bit. You know, once you're set up in your site, I don't think a unit this side's going anyplace, but what is a good idea is to use wheel chocks. Here we have a set of wheel chocks, and I placed them back to back this way because you would put them between the wheels, one against the front, one against the back. They even make devices that are mechanically adjustable. They start like this, you put them between the wheels if you have a double axle trailer, and they screw out and it locks the wheels in place. Whenever you have a trailer and you want to make sure it doesn't move one side to the other, you really should chock the wheels on both sides. But for demonstration purposes, we only brought one set out to show on this side. The other thing, and this is one of my favorite, I have 3 or 4 sets of these, are these gigantic level blocks. Here's a good picture, I think. These Lego blocks, and that's just what they look like. They stack up. You can back right up on them. You can stack them up. So if you have to get one wheel or one side of the coach higher than another, and of course you have dual wheels here, so it might be a good idea to get more than one set, and then you can level your coach by simply driving up on these. And that takes a lot of work out of it, and they're also easy. They used to have a replacement, if you happen to break one that's sturdy, that they would replace it for nothing. I think I've only ever damaged one. And they're also easy to wash off, and they're fairly light. And if you're concerned about weight with your coach, sometimes wood is a little bit too heavy. Last but not least in our setup is your power setup. And I said I prefer myself to hook that up first, but in this case, I wanted to show you that your power connection is all the way at the back of the coach. If we unroll this cable here, it's probably about 30 feet, and it would probably make it to the average service post, but on this particular coach, I think I'd be interested in carrying an extension just in case. Now, one of the things is, this being a 50 amp coach, you can see how thick this cable is. They're not inexpensive, but I would get a 50 amp extension. And the reason is, the larger the cable, the easier and the more electricity it can carry. You could downsize, go from this 50 to a 30-foot cable, but then you're kind of defeating the purpose of why you have a 50 amp coach, so you can carry enough electricity to comfortably put anything in that you want. So give that some thought if you have a coach where your power is this far away. Now remember that we talked at first about the surge protector over at the power post. You would be plugging the other end of this cable into that surge protector. The surge protector is actually plugged into the power source. And you can rest assured that that little device will protect your coach. Well, it's another beautiful day here in Western New York. Thanks for watching. We tried to cover the necessities, things you need absolutely to get started on your venture. So until next time, happy camp.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, check out our description below for more information, and if you're looking for your next camper purchase, please consider Meyers RV for your next investment. Thanks again, we'll see you next time.